I want to address menu labeling a bit more. My understanding is that the FDA has announced at least something they're calling guidance as of this morning in regard to this issue that Senator Blunt raised about the inability of many who may or are regulated by FDA and menu labeling, their ability to actually know what to do between now and December. In cursory review of what FDA has said this morning and what they call guidance, it appears to us that it's simply restating things that have already been put before the public and before this committee previously, and that no real benefit, no additional certainty or knowledge what behavior needs to occur, what actions need to be taken, could be garnered by reading what you're calling guidance. And so, again, I would reiterate this issue about the scope of what you're asking many to do in menu labeling and the significant cost it will take to comply with those requirements, and yet the uncertainty about if they do expend, if a business expends that money, whether they will really have met the regulations. Let me ask a couple of questions about individual or sector of the food industry's concern. One that comes to mind, and Kansas is a place, so I can be provincial this morning, Kansas is a place that originates Pizza Huts. And so pizza delivery, it's our understanding that the regulations do not allow the regulations to be satisfied by posting caloric values on the internet, despite the fact that's where most people apparently today order a pizza. And in fact, the requirement is that the information be provided on the box that the pizza is delivered in, and that there are, I don't know what the number is, the hundreds of different ingredients that you could order for your pizza, and the ability to label the caloric values on that pizza box for that specific pizza is an impracticality. Are those issues that you're aware of, addressing, understand the need for common sense if anybody's going to be able to comply with the direction you're going, particularly in this setting in which it's not a restaurant?
Well, the restaurant-like establishments is clearly the hardest part of this equation, and it was hard as we worked through what should be in the proposed rules and as we went to finalizing. And now as we move towards implementation, and in particular some of the foods on display as opposed to the more traditional preset menu kinds of situations. I think first we have to clarify just misinformation. I mean, the requirement you just mentioned for calories on the pizza box is not something that I've ever heard of, and I agree, it doesn't make sense.
Does that mean it's not the rule?
In fact, we've tried to be quite flexible, recognizing these new ways that foods get sold in our country and the complexities, and so we've tried to really try to address that, and a lot of time was spent on pizzas and the fact that you can have different toppings and allowing for ranges of calories, and also recognizing that certain places people get it over the internet and not where there's a posted menu. But grocery stores, another area I know that Senator Blunt has been concerned about this as well. We're working closely with that industry, with the broad, FMI that represents many of the supermarkets, but also individual companies, to try to understand what the questions are. We have not put out guidance, but we plan to propose some guidance or put out, a framework to address some of these areas that are more confusing, particularly the food on display. And our goal in doing this is to not disrupt practices or add unnecessary burden. We want to be able to have a smooth and efficient implementation of this and work with the components of industry as needed to make that possible. So to clarify as explicitly as we can where the problems are and what needs to be done is our goal, and we are underway trying to achieve that, but there's more work to be done.
So my understanding about something called guidance being issued by the FDA today on this topic, that's inaccurate.
I'm not sure what that would be referring to.
Plain language summary of the rule for small business.
I see. It was a plain language summary of the rule for small businesses. So an effort to try to clarify what's in the rule and what is not, and part of the ongoing effort.
But that means there's more guidance to come, more
Yes.
actual guidance to come.
Yes.
And so the rule doesn't require the labeling of a box of pizza for the number of calories based upon the ingredients included in the
Not
pizza?
to the best of my knowledge and belief, no.
All right. Well, obviously, there is uncertainty about the direction that a business must go to comply with the regulations. And what you described to me as your goal is a good thing. What it brings to my mind is that getting us from this point to the certainty by December seems pretty far stretched to me, and a delay in the final implementation or the final effect of the rule may be something that is something you should consider.
Well, there clearly is more work to be done, and you know the discussion we've just had, I think, underscores that there is still considerable confusion about what's actually in the rule. Need to spell that out more explicitly, addressing the individual concerns of companies and the industry more broadly, and really narrowing in on some of these areas that are just harder to address and more confusing as we go from the issuance of the final rule to the actual implementation.
Do you believe that FDA had the discretion whether to include food delivery services, the pizza delivery and the grocery stores, the salad bar at the grocery store? That was an FDA decision to include, not a legislative requirement?
I believe that the salad bar issue was actually explicitly in the law, but you know, we were asked to look at restaurants and restaurant-like establishments, because the fact is that the world we live in no longer revolves around traditional restaurants, but there are many, many settings where you can get prepared food intended for individual consumption at that site or immediately thereafter, and the law did ask us to look at that broader range.
Let me now turn to Senator Merkley.